Welcome to episode 221 of the Shared Security Show. And joining me this week is worldwide security awareness champion, co-host Scott Wright.
Thank you,
Hello,
Tom.
Scott.
Thank you.
And we're joined by someone who has actually thought about blackmailing Congress. Co-host Kevin Johnson.
That was the headline on the article, not my thoughts.
He wasn't the only one, apparently.
No, was not the only one.
Oh, man.
But we will get to that story here shortly.
Yep.
Sure to cause Kevin some angst. Is that the right word? I don't know.
Sure.
But
let's cause Kevin some angst today.
Yes, let's do that. But first, I did want to make a quick announcement that we have new swag in the Shared Security store. So we have new T-shirts, hoodies, stickers with these very cool QR code graphics. So, everybody now will want to scan your QR code that you're walking around in. And where it goes, well, nobody really knows.
Yeah,
so
it's a little bit ironic, but yeah, that's okay.
I don't think it's true that nobody knows.
Well, we know where it
generated
goes.
the QR code.
Our 12 followers know where it's going to go.
That's right. That's right. So check those out if you like. So yeah, there is my one announcement and plug for the Shared Security store.
Yep.
So let's get into our first story this week, which is about Dumbphones. So Dumbphone sales apparently are soaring as people are revolting against these overwhelming smartphones.
That sounds like comments my grandmother would make. And this is not an ageist like, oh, those grandmothers. My grandmother would say constantly, I'm totally overwhelmed by these directions. I'm totally overwhelmed by this. But she is also the person that she would open the mayonnaise before putting it in the refrigerator when she came home from the store, because the directions said open refrigerate after opening, which meant you weren't allowed to refrigerate it before you opened.
Oh, that's good. That's a lot like one I saw on LinkedIn the other day of somebody who was explaining that she just discovered that her mother thought that when you put stuff in the recycle bin, that was going to the cloud.
Oh,
Says, isn't that where you put stuff to get it out of the way? You put it in the cloud, that little bin.
That's what we do in the business world. We throw it all in the cloud. Just
And I think it might come from the idea that sometimes when you put stuff in the bin, it sort of you get a little poof of smoke and it kind of looks like a cloud. Maybe that's
okay. I can see that.
On a Mac, you do, yeah.
When you
yes, on a Mac, on a Mac, only on a Mac,
only on a Mac. That's right. But so apparently, and we'll link this in the show notes. There is a trend among the younger generation. So I think 16, 17-year-old kids that are dumping their smartphones in favor of the Dumbphone, which is, as you know, the flip phones. The phones you see in TV shows all the time.
Burner phones.
Why is it only in TV shows that they don't use smartphones? They use flip phones.
Well, they use them for burners most of the time. Right?
What was the music video? Who was it that she was texting her boyfriend and he didn't respond? And the song is about how they're breaking up or whatever. But if you look at the screen of that she's texting in, she's actually entering it into Microsoft Excel on a mobile device, and which might explain why he never responded. But I have to find that one.
That's funny.
So, okay, my very first question is, you sent the two links, I read both of them. I want to know, is this similar to the new trend in beards? It's the circle beard where they've shaven just the ring. Like, this article reads like, I talked to 3 people that are less than 24 years old, and those 3 people bought a flip phone, so it's stupendous numbers. I did see it said 1 in 10.
In the UK.
Yeah. It also said it grew by 98%, but what was the original number?
Yeah. We had 4 people buy them last year, and we got 98% more people. I'm aware that's a fraction. But yeah, they didn't give real numbers other than that 1 in 10, which, let's be blunt, if 10% of the people that are carrying a cell phone are carrying a non-internet connected phone, I'm going to remind you of my comments about SMS two-factor being a requirement in modern times
It's a great
because
point.
excellent
people
point.
aren't
Yeah.
using
Yeah.
smartphones.
Yep.
But I also am going to doubt the 10% of the people that are carrying a phone or 10% of the young people that are carrying a phone are carrying.
Yeah, they said it was like
phone.
age 25 to 35 or something. It was like the highest portion of the population that was carrying dumb phones.
I guess I see this from two angles. I mean, obviously, like anything that's trendy, right? This is gonna, like how like records came back, and cassette tapes,
drip coffee.
Yes, drip coffee. Hasn't that always been a thing? I don't know.
No, what is that one word? No, pour over. That's the word I'm trying to think of.
The pour over. Yes.
Pour over coffee.
Yes.
Like, look, just give me coffee.
Right.
Don't make me go through a song and dance to get coffee.
And I don't see this as like people are leaving smartphones because of all the privacy issues, right? I see this as more of well, it's kind of trendy because, things from the 80s and the 90s are kind of back in style again. So if my friends see me with this flip phone, hey, this is kind of a cool factor.
I think it's because they're overwhelmed.
I think that there's another aspect to it, right? And one of the people they quoted in the article, I think it was a young lady. She paid $10.50 on her phone. Cheap, right? Mm-hmm. I just priced a new phone. I'm probably not buying it, but I priced a new phone, and if I trade in my current phone, they'll give me $1,000 credit. And I still owe $1,100 on the new phone.
It's ridiculous,
right?
Yeah. You're right.
So, I'm not sure I can convince my wife to let me buy because she handles our finances. And if I had a $10.50 option, I think should go with it. Like, you buy that.
It actually reminds me. You guys remember 10 years ago when I did the Honey Stick project, right? And I was doing them with smartphones. The very first project was actually subsidized by, I think, Sprint, and they donated a bunch of used Evo phones.
Yeah.
But then after that, when I would do them, I would actually have to go buy the phones, and I would buy the cheapest LG smartphones I could with, it was like $70 or $80 or something like that, and you got 10 minutes free, and that's all I needed, right? So, so that was what it cost then. 10 years ago, it was less than $100. For a plain old Android.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see if this is a trend or if this, people are, or, this generation or younger generation is choosing to just simplify their lives and, maybe it is a cost issue.
Or is it a clickbait headline that Tom fell for?
Or is it that? I don't know. Well, I did find the original article what I sent you was a very strange site anyway.
Activist post, I think.
Yeah, maybe. So I found the original one on bbc.com.
It was British.
Which I will have. Yeah. As well as an interesting conversation on Reddit.
I was just looking at that.
People are talking about this as well. So we will see if this is privacy related or not. But
there's actually a Reddit channel called Dumbphones.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yep. There is a subreddit on that. Well, there's a subreddit for everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And if there isn't, there will be.
There will be. That's right. Have to check and see if there's one for QR codes. There probably is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move into our segment that we all know and love, which is Aware Much?
Thanks, Tom. Well, welcome to this little segment that explores what you should know about protecting your privacy and security online. And this week we have a story that was sparked by a recent episode of Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. And as you know,
that only us in the U.S. can watch.
That's true. Tom sent me the link to it, and I click on it. It goes, not available in your region. So screw you, Canada.
Canada doesn't need to see John Oliver.
No.
You've solved all the problems he's complaining about.
Yeah. One use of a VPN. There you
go. So I turned a VPN on and was able to watch it. So I'll get blocked next week because they'll block the VPN. But anyway, as you know, John likes to rant about unfair practices quite often. And in this episode, he was going on about data brokers. And we've talked a little bit about data brokers in the show. The guys that buy data from social media sites and then sell it to advertisers so they can target you in various ways. But it can be really hard to trace or do anything about, the data that gets passed around in some cases. So the show illustrated how you could literally buy lists of people's names that were on or had searched for particular things or clicked on certain ads, etc. And it was a little bit creepy when you see how targeted this stuff can be. And after he pointed out that nothing could really be done, he also noted that the only time lawmakers have actually done anything about this, as if we expect lawmakers to do something about it, was when they were actually potentially going to be revealed for having taken some specific or suspicious action. And so, in a what I thought was a brilliant move, Oliver cleverly unveils this hypothetical project that you could do where you could actually buy data regarding the activities of people, say, within a few miles of Capitol Hill in DC. And you could target them for things, ads like, how to get a divorce, or can I vote twice?
Ted
Or
Cruz
Ted
erotic
Cruz
fan fiction.
erotic fan fiction. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great one. So
Amazing.
he goes, that would we do that? Well, actually, we already did. So he's got all this data that he bought, and essentially blackmailing people. Not, I mean, it sounds a little more sensational than it probably is, because the data that he showed they were able to collect was IP addresses, locations, and device types. He didn't say what other data there might have been in there. So chances of it actually being able to re-identify people, not sure. It might scare some some lawmakers, but chances are probably, I think, low that anything will change in the laws. But just, it's a good reminder. I think that was the point, was to let people know that anything that you post or share or like, and especially ads that you click on, can reveal a lot of data, personal data about you, to the data brokers and eventually to advertisers. So just wanted to let people know that. And did you guys have any comments on that?
I have lots of comments.
Cool.
Yes, Kevin has a few comments. I did want to state real quick that what he's talking about, of that bill that was passed, it was in 1988.
Oh, yeah.
It was called the Video Privacy Protection Act. And it had to do with someone that was a candidate for the Supreme Court.
Bork.
Yep.
Robert Bork, right.
Yep.
A reporter went to see if they could get his video rental history. So this was back when we had
Video stores.
VHS video stores, right? And he was able to get that, and Congress literally flipped out over that, and they passed a bill that was signed by President Reagan shortly after that.
Yeah.
So that
and
was,
if I remember correctly, the bill went through faster than
than anything.
Any other, right? Like, let's not protect the country from serial killers.
Right.
Let's protect the privacy of our video rental. By the way, if you want to know what videos I'm renting, ask. I'll let you know.
So what are your comments?
So I kind of feel Kevin might have some feelings about whether there should be laws around this stuff.
I actually think there should be laws. I just don't know how we're ever going to get a law that's worth a damn from the useless
good point.
sacks that are passing laws today. I loved how, first off, I want to be very clear that it bothers me at my core that we are getting good investigative journalism from comedians.
Oh, I know. It's been that way for years.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. Nothing again. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm saying they should not be the source of investigative journalism, but they are.
Yeah.
Because we get CNN and Fox News as our other options. And CNN Plus tells me how great they are. But I didn't even know CNN Plus was a real thing.
I didn't know that either. Of course, we don't get it in Canada.
Well, nobody knows that,
Right. That's why there's only 10,000 people or something. But neither here nor there. Here's what I really am bothered by is I was watching it, made sense. Everything he was saying, no surprise to anybody on here. I won't comment on his source of an expert thought it was fascinating that you could get IP addresses. But he talks about the EU and privacy. He did not say GDPR specifically, but it was obvious that what he was talking about was GDPR.
Yeah.
He's like, look,
cookies.
The EU went and passed a law to protect privacy, but all that happened was companies adjusted how they would get you to click the link to say yes, and they bypassed the controls, which to me is a big problem, right? We've all joked about the fact that GDPR's biggest result is pop-ups that ask you if you want to accept the cookies. But then he immediately does about face and says, and so we need a federal law. And I want to know, I want to ask, I'd love John Oliver to respond to this. Why do you think the US Congress is going to pass something that will be anywhere near competent. When the EU, we see exactly what happened. And I'm not saying there shouldn't be a law. I just don't know how you're going to get a law that actually does anything, right?
Yeah.
And the example I always give is California. California passed a law that was for a good reason. There were people that were getting sick because the companies they worked in were not identifying where the dangerous chemicals were being stored. And so people were going into these closets that had the normal cleaning supplies and really dangerous chemicals and getting very, very sick. And so Congress passed a law, not Congress, California passed a law that said you have to label where the dangerous chemicals are stored. That makes sense. That's, to me, when I read that, it was like, oh man, yeah, you should label that. Go to California. Almost every professional business building has a sign outside that says these premises may contain chemicals that are known to cause cancer in California. The entire building is labeled, which means they're compliant with the law, yet accomplishing nothing, right? Other than enriching
Great point.
the sign makers.
Somebody's making money off of it.
That's what we're going to have happen here. We're going to pass a law, just like GDPR, that means you're going to get 2 pop-ups when you go to a website.
Great. More pop-ups. Awesome.
It makes me think back to communism, right? We hear from people all the time. Yep, I know communism failed in Russia and the USSR because it wasn't really communism, so it'll work here. Every single person thinks somehow they can do it better. Guess what? I can do fascism better than anybody else. Let me try. It just, oh God, this is awful. Yeah, let's pass a law. That's a great idea because Ted Cruz is the idiot. Oh, even better. What is that moron's name in Georgia? Marjorie Taylor Greene or something like that. Like every time that woman opens her mouth, I get dumber. And she is going to pass a law about privacy. You know what's going to happen. We're going to weaken encryption. So we probably should get to the next topic.
Yeah.
So for a while.
I will say, and by the way, we will have the video linked in the show notes. It is I love John Oliver. I mean, he's hilarious. It's a great video to watch. It definitely is eye-opening. But I will say, back to your comment, Kevin, that if you want John Oliver to watch this episode, if John Oliver actually watches this episode, I will officially declare we've made it. So
okay, I'm in. I will declare the same thing,
and we'll claim we have 13 followers.
And let's be
we'll
very
have
clear.
14 after John Oliver.
Yeah. Let me be very clear. I'm going to put a call out now. If anybody named John Oliver watches this video, we've made it. I went to school with a guy named John Oliver. Not that John Oliver.
And we should try to get a town to name themselves the Shared Security Town.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh. So, awesome. So our last story.
Can I do my plug for Click Armor?
There
was a purpose to that.
There was a purpose. Yeah, there's always an ulterior motive. But Aware Much is brought to you by Click Armor, the first fully gamified cybersecurity awareness training and engagement platform. Sign up for our 5-day challenge at clickarmor.ca and see how effective regular gamified exercises and immersive simulations can be to help your staff avoid phishing and social engineering threats. Now you can cut it.
So imagine this scenario. You're out of the office unexpectedly and a colleague pings you because they need access to some system you have credentials for. Now, our listeners would never send passwords over email or Slack, right? But what about your coworkers? How many organizations out there are sending logins back and forth in plain text? Worse yet, how many just store all of their logins on a shared spreadsheet? We all know that human errors are the biggest threat to your organization's security. But did you know that weak or stolen passwords account for over 80% of all data breaches? Now, there are tools out there that can allow you to share credentials, set access permissions, and monitor the dark web for stolen logins. And Keeper Security's enterprise password management platform does just that. Keeper locks down logins, payment cards, confidential documents, API keys, and database passwords in a patented zero-knowledge encrypted vault. and it takes less than an hour to deploy across your organization. Sign up for a Keeper free trial for your organization today and get a free 3-year personal plan. Stop sharing emails and spreadsheets with the keys to the kingdom. Get started by visiting keepersecurity.com/shared security. Thank you, Scott. Thank you. So speaking of communism, Kevin.
Speaking of communism, that is an awful intro.
Yeah, you like that? So there's a new report that has come out about a hacking group called Cicada. I don't know why it's called Cicada, but APT 10, maybe that's a better way to describe it, which is linked to the Chinese Ministry of State Security, that has been apparently in a lot of networks has been hidden, if you will, for around 9 months, undetected in some cases. And Scott, I know you had brought this up as maybe something to discuss in terms of how are they getting in?
Yeah.
And I know they had mentioned Microsoft Exchange in this research, but thought, yeah, it may be worth just discussing, just from Kevin and mine's perspective of, how do these attacks happen? And how does someone stay embedded in a network for 9 months?
Mm-hmm.
Besides the fact that they're a nation state and have capabilities to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think it takes being a nation state
No, it doesn't.
to stay in a network for 9 months.
They just have more money.
I really wish we came up with a different name than APT, because every time I read it, I think
Application pen test. I know.
No, I think apartment. I'm like immediately apartment 10, because it's followed by a number, right? Like, what's your apartment number? 10.
Yeah.
Imagine living in apartment 21. APT 21. Isn't that one of the bad guys groups? Never mind.
I don't know. I feel like I should get the joke, and I don't.
Isn't there like, don't we name all the groups in like Russia or China?
APT. Advanced persistent.
Isn't there an APT 21 group? I thought it was one of the most popular ones. So
Here's the sad news. 9 months is quick.
Yeah.
For somebody to detect it in 9 months with some of these groups, that's quick.
There's a lot of stats I've seen though that say like 200 days. I've seen for years, like in between 180 and 250 days on average. An APT.
You know the problem with averages, right?
Sure.
You have somebody that detects it in an hour.
Yeah.
And I think it depends on the organization. I think it depends on the industry. I think it depends on how mature you are, right? We do tests where we're detected very quickly. And then we do other tests where we do the entire test. We steal all the data we're supposed to steal. And
nobody knows. Yep.
Right. It all depends. I think 9 months is bad, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that it's okay the organization didn't find them for 9 months. I think the organization should be ashamed of itself for not finding them for 9 months. But history has shown, previous attacks have shown that these all probably came in through known vulnerabilities, whether it was a phishing attack that they were then able to escalate privileges because of known vulnerabilities that weren't patched or fixed or whatever, or they logged in through known vulnerabilities. We see organizations. It bothers me. It's 2022, and I'm still writing findings about not patching Windows.
Jeez.
Right? The default is to apply the patch automatically.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you have to go out of your way to turn off Windows.
Is it because of like legacy systems that they don't want to break?
No, it's because people change it because they're used to being able to not worry about it, and it's easier for them to support the system to not have the change. It's not necessarily that it's a legacy system. Yes, there absolutely are. We still run into, I've joked on here about the fact that we have customers that are still running Windows Vista, and that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
We just did a test 2 weeks ago that found XP machines all through the network. What I'm talking about is systems that are running Windows 10 and Windows 11 and not patching them.
So they've gone to some effort to turn off automatic patching.
Exactly.
Wow.
And this is in my head, and this is rude or whatever. It's InfoSec's fault. We have jackholes, and I've been that jackhole that stand up on a podium and yell how stupid IT is because they don't do the right thing, how stupid users are because they click things, how dumb developers are. And the reality is, very few of those people are dumb just to be dumb. They may do dumb things. Guess what? We all do dumb things. The problem is that InfoSec is a selfish, narcissistic industry where we want to stand up and talk about the new 0 day we came up with. And, oh man, look how awesome we are. And we can do this. And you all suck. And how many times have you heard the statement, I only have to get it right once and you have to get it right every single time?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, jackhole. But once you get in, you have to get it right every single time. And oh, by the way, you're also not supporting a 20,000 person organization that doesn't give you the budget you need or the resources you need. And you have to deal with the 0 day du jour that somehow got news. So the CEO is like, on the airplane, I read this article about this stupid new vulnerability.
Yeah. Really good point.
Right?
Yeah. I was going to say,
we don't support organizations. Sorry.
I get it completely. I was actually probably under a misconception until you said that. But what I see that causing is confusion amongst managers. And really, the main thing that I'm concerned about is the lack of awareness. They don't really know how bad things are really. And so they get frozen and they say, well, I don't know what to do here, so I'm not going to spend money there.
Well, it will worse. In my head, it's worse than that. Yes, everything you just said is correct. But what I see happen more than I won't spend money on that, it's I'm going to spend money in the wrong place because a headline or a vendor or a salesperson has blown smoke up my rear that this thing is going to solve the problem, right? The example I give all the time, we worked with a company that deployed printers and turned off encryption on the printers. Why? Because the Qualys scans they were running on their internal network kept lighting up like a Christmas tree because of self-signed certs and things like that. And the easiest solution was turn off encryption entirely. That's brilliant, right? I talk to people all the time. I just had this conversation on Twitter 2 days ago where people are like, well, look at this idiot congressperson who's mad that Facebook's blocked him. And he is an idiot congressperson and Facebook should have blocked him. But they're like, well, that's the problem with using third parties. And I asked the question, like, how do you think the person should get online without using third parties? And they talked about hosting their own stuff. And I'm like, what about DNS? What about their internet service? Well, yeah, those are still third party. Like you're making a declaration without understanding what the reality is. And yes, I'm not defending that idiot congressperson, but saying they're stupid because they used Facebook misses the point.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Sorry, I ranted.
No, it was good rant.
Yep.
Good rant.
Good rant.
Well, we'll have links in the show notes for anyone that's interested in learning more about this this particular APT. But with that, that's all we have time for this week. So thank you both for being our co-hosts. Much appreciated. And get yourself some QR code swag, by the way.
That's right.
And we will talk to everyone again next week. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, hit that like and subscribe button. To catch all the latest from the show, visit our website, sharedsecurity.net. Follow us on Twitter at SharedSec, and join our Reddit community on the Shared Security Show subreddit.